What was it like the first time you wore pants in front of your family?
I can't remember when the first time was I did that.
Really? I didn't know if that was a big moment. I know.
Was it the other day? Was it last
Okay.
No. It was probably maybe a couple years after I started wearing pants. Because, I mean, we live far away from them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But, the first few times I went back, I was not wearing pants. I wore a skirt because it was, It was just, I knew that's a big deal for my family. Yeah. And I didn't want to, my heart is not to rub anything in anyone's face and be like, I'm doing this. I'm doing my own thing. I ultimately want to play a long game of, showing them that, okay, I love you. I know that we disagree on a lot, but I want you to see that I'm walking with Christ and this is what I'm doing. I don't feel like it's a sin to live my life in this way, to do what I'm convicted of now. And I want them to see long term those things, but I don't have a heart to rub it in their face.
And that's where about Ginger's process, with all these things that seemingly seem insignificant, like pants or something, Ginger's heart has always been, I want to honor my family. I want to respect them and love them. And ultimately, I want to have a sweet relationship. So there's never been a mindset of oh, I'm free and so even when we approached those topics, it was always thoughtful. It was always, let's have a conversation. Let's explain where we're at. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like we got married and then she went, okay, I'm writing a book. Mm-hmm. That was a 5, 6, 7 year process of her going.
Me living my life and then seeing okay, now I want to share this story because I see these teachings are so damaging and coming out of them. It made me want to speak because I could look over and see friends and loved ones who are being so harmed by this teaching all around me. Yeah. And I can't just be quiet.
And did you think through the conversation, call up your parents and tell them, hey, I'm not wearing pants? Or was it one of those things where you're like, I'm just doing this, and then they find out however they find out?
Yeah, just like you said, just having a conversation with them.
Oh, you did? You felt the need to call them up and let them know?
Because it's a big enough thing in my family. That's huge. Okay. It might seem so small, like Tara said. It seems so insignificant to so many. But for my family, that was massive. And so I wanted to let them know, regardless of how things go, I just want to be able to share that. And I don't feel like I have to share every little thing with them now. Even looking at our lives, we are living our lives however we want. We're not I have to call my mom and dad and tell them, okay, I'm going to do this differently. But that was one of the first things. And also, I think the big thing is just because we're in the public eye, I knew that there was going to be so much that would blow up. If it's a paparazzi photo when we're out that's taken, okay, that happens all the time. So let's just be ready for it. I'm just going to tell them. And then that way they know, and they know that it came from a heart of hey, this is what I feel convicted of, or don't anymore, Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. And they can just know from my heart, and then we'll move on. And so that's kind of how it was with a couple different things that I felt convicted of, whether that was getting a mortgage on a house, because my dad's in real estate. I was well, let's just run this by him, and we're going to just tell him what we're doing. Not hey, what do you think of what we're doing? Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's an element of that. We asked our other counselors in our life at that point what we should do, and they were yeah, go for it. And so I just wanted to include them on a couple of those things. But as we've moved on, we have our lives here, we're established, we have a great community around us, an awesome church that we're a part of and love it. And so we'll have other people that we're asking those questions to now. And yeah, I think it's a healthy place to be, but I just always wanted to show them that I loved and cared about them, even if we have differences.
Wow. Yeah. I did not think through, obviously it is a big deal, but yeah, just wanting to tell your parents, hey, I mean, I respect you calling them and telling them that, because you obviously didn't need to do that, but just caring about them enough to call them up. How is that frustrating when something gets picked up in the media? Or I'm sure there's been so many articles written about, we've never dealt with paparazzi. We make TikToks. We're not paparazzi people, but you've dealt with that. And so it must be really frustrating when people twist a storyline or try to paint you out to be somebody. How does that make you feel?
I don't know. I think just having grown up in the public eye, there's a certain level of realizing, okay, this is just our life, and it's not like we have this crazy amount of paparazzi following us every single day. there were seasons where it was wild like that. And it's ultimately, I realized like whatever they say, there's always going to be a naysayer. There's always going to be someone, if it's a comment in your social media, all of us experience it, you know, if it's a friend saying something behind our back, whatever it is, at the end of the day, I just want to let it like roll off my back. If it's something that's negative, now if it's something that's legit, then that's where it hurts worse. Like if it's kind of like twisted, you know, it's like, oh, Jinger did this and she's doing this despite her parents. I'm like, no, I am doing, like, I'm going to wear pants, but it's not to like, to make them mad.